A poor mother takes her daughter to buy a Halloween costume with only $20. But a young billionaire sees everything and does something unexpected. The shop bell jingled as Jessie pushed the glass door open. Junie rushed in, her blonde curls bouncing as her bright eyes widened at the sight of the colorful shelves. "Mommy, look!" The little girl pointed at a giant plush spider hanging from the ceiling. Jessie clutched her purse tighter. Inside, a $20 bill was folded into thirds. It was all she could spend, maybe even more than she should. "Let's find something nice for you to wear for Halloween, okay?" Junie had already disappeared between the aisles. Jessie followed her, walking past monster masks, superhero capes, and pointy hats. The store smelled of new plastic and had that fluorescent lighting that made everything look slightly artificial. "Mommy! Mommy, come see!" Junie's voice echoed from the back of the store. Jessie quickened her pace and found her daughter standing in front of a costume displayed in the inner window. It was a witch's dress, dark purple, with silver stars embroidered on the skirt, a pointy hat with a satin ribbon, and even a small, real broom. Junie had both hands pressed against the glass, her eyes shining as if she had just found a treasure. "Mommy, I want this one." Jessie walked closer and looked at the price tag, $50. She felt her stomach clench. "Honey, that one is too expensive." "But it's so pretty." Junie pointed at the silver stars. "Look, Mommy, it glitters." "I know, sweetie, but please, please, Mommy." Jessie crouched down beside her daughter. She took a deep breath. "Junie, listen, I don't have that much money." The phrase came out drier than she intended. Junie stopped smiling. She looked at her mother, then at the costume, and back at her mother. "No money at all? Not enough for that one, no." Jessie stood up and gently took Junie's hand. "But look," she pointed to a shelf next to them. "There are others here. Look at that fairy one, and that pumpkin one is really cool too." Junie slowly shook her head, but she didn't take her eyes off the purple dress. "I wanted that one." "I know, but we need to choose one that Mommy can afford, all right?" The saleswoman walked past them carrying a stack of boxes. Jessie felt the weight of the woman's gaze. She gently pulled Junie along. "Come on, let's look at other options." But Junie didn't move. She kept staring at the costume, quiet. She didn't cry. She didn't make a scene. She just stood there, with that heartbreaking expression for Jessie, the look of a child who was already learning not to ask for too much. Jessie looked around. There was a kitten costume for $15. A little ghost one for $12. Simple, but cute. "Junie, look at this one." She picked up the kitten one. "It has little ears. Don't you think it's sweet?" Junie looked. She gave a weak smile. "It's pretty." "So, this one." The girl hesitated. She looked one last time at the purple dress, then at her mother. And then, in a voice so low it was almost lost in the shop's noise, she said, "It's okay, Mommy, I can be an invisible witch." Jessie felt as if someone had stabbed her in the chest. She stood still, holding the kitten costume, unable to answer. "Invisible witch?" Jessie tried to laugh, but her voice was shaky. "Yes. I'll wear my regular clothes and pretend I'm a witch no one can see. That way you don't spend money, Mommy." Jessie bowed her head. She took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. It was just a costume, just a Halloween costume, but it felt like much more than that. "You're a very clever girl, you know." She held Junie's face with both hands. "Dad, Mommy will figure it out, okay? We'll find a beautiful costume for you." "I like the kitten one," Junie said, too quickly. Jessie was about to reply when she heard a voice behind them. "Excuse me." She turned around. A man was standing a few steps away, tall, wearing a well-cut grey coat. He looked to be in his early 40s, with dark hair and a few streaks of grey at his temples. His face was serious but not harsh. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, his voice calm, "but I overheard your conversation." Jessie felt her face flush. Great. Now people were hearing her say she had no money. She held Junie's hand tighter. "So we're just finishing up here." "I know, but..." He looked at Junie, then at the purple dress in the window. "May I ask your daughter a question?" Jessie frowned, suspicious. The man noticed and raised his hands. "Just one question. I promise it's quick." She didn't answer, but she didn't leave either. The man crouched down, meeting Junie's height. "Hi. What's your name?" "Junie." "Junie. Pretty name." He smiled slightly. "Do you really want that costume right there?" Junie looked at her mother before answering. Jessie was about to intervene, but something made her stay quiet. "I do," Junie said quietly. "But it's okay. I'll be invisible." The man nodded, as if that made perfect sense. Then he stood up and walked to the counter. Jessie stood still, confused. He said something to the saleswoman, pointing to the display. The woman took the key, opened the glass, and took the purple costume out. "Hey, wait!" Jessie took a step forward. "What are you doing?" He was already paying. He swiped his card, signed the receipt, and took the bag. Then he walked back to where Jessie and Junie were and held out the bag to the girl. "This is for you." Junie's eyes widened. She looked at her mother, speechless. "Mommy!" "No, no, no." Jessie shook her head. "We can't accept this. Seriously. Thank you, but no." "Why not?" Because I don't know you. And because we don't need charity." The word came out harsher than she intended. The man didn't look offended. He just kept holding the bag. "It's not charity," he said. "It's just a gift for Halloween. I don't accept gifts from strangers for my daughter." "Then let's stop being strangers. My name is Owen." Jessie crossed her arms. Junie kept staring at the bag as if it might disappear at any moment. "Look, Owen, I appreciate it. I really do. But I can't accept. May I ask you a question?" He tilted his head. "If it were your sister or your best friend who bought this costume for Junie, would you accept?" "That's different." "Why?" Jessie opened her mouth, but couldn't think of what to say. He was right, and that irritated her even more. "Because I don't owe you anything, and I don't want to." Owen nodded slowly. Then he crouched down again, meeting Junie's height, and placed the bag on the floor between them. "Junie, can I tell you a secret?" The girl nodded yes. "When I was little, I wanted to be a wizard too, but I never had a real costume. Do you know what I did?" "What?" "I tied a towel around my neck and pretended it was a magic cape. It worked, but I always wished for a real costume." He looked at the purple dress inside the bag. "So, when I heard you talking about an invisible witch, I thought, this girl is as imaginative as I was, and she deserves to have the costume I never had." Jessie felt a lump in her throat. Junie was mesmerized, her eyes fixed on Owen. "Every witch deserves to sparkle for at least one night," he said, pushing the bag toward Junie. The girl looked at her mother, asking for permission. Jessie closed her eyes for a moment. She wanted to refuse. She wanted to maintain her dignity, her pride. But when she opened her eyes and saw Junie's expression, that mixture of hope and fear of disappointment, she couldn't say no. "All right," she murmured, "but just this once." Junie took the bag with both hands and hugged it to her chest, smiling from ear to ear. Thank you, Mr. Owen." He smiled back. It was a small, reserved smile, but genuine. "You're welcome, Junie." Jessie swallowed the lump in her throat. "Thank you," she said, quietly. "Really?" Owen nodded and stood up. He gave one more look at Junie, who was already opening the bag to peek at the costume again, and then started walking toward the exit. Before leaving, he stopped and looked back. "Happy Halloween!" And then he disappeared through the door, leaving Jessie standing in the middle of the store, unsure of what had just happened. Jessie adjusted the box of sweets on the folding table and wiped the sweat from her brow with the back of her hand. The mid-afternoon sun beat down hard on the sidewalk. Junie was sitting in a chair beside her, swinging her legs and eating a lollipop left over from the last sale. "Mommy, it's hot," the girl complained, pulling at her shirt collar. "I know, honey, but we need to stay a little longer, okay?" Jessie looked at the box. She had only sold 6 chocolate bars in 2 hours. It wasn't enough, not even close. A week ago, she still had 3 regular cleaning clients. Today, she had 0. Mrs. Martinez had hired a niece. The Thompson family moved to another state, and the Porters simply stopped answering her calls. All that was left was this, a table on the sidewalk, candy bought in bulk, and the hope that someone would stop to buy. "Mommy, that man is coming this way." Jessie raised her head. A man was walking toward them, hands in his pockets. It took a few seconds for her to recognize him. The grey coat, the dark hair with grey streaks. Owen. She felt her stomach tie into a knot. She didn't want him to see her like this, selling candy on the street like a child fundraising for school. "Hi," Junie waved with the lollipop, smiling. Owen stopped in front of the table and smiled back. "Hi, Junie, how are you?" "Good. We're selling candy. Do you want to buy some?" "Junie," Jessie muttered, embarrassed. Owen looked at the box, then at Jessie. There was no judgment in his look, only curiosity. "How much does it cost?" $2 each, Junie answered before Jessie could speak. "Sounds fair." He took his wallet out of his pocket. "Give me 3. Jessie picked up 3 chocolate bars and handed them to him. Owen put a $10 bill on the table. "Keep the change." "You don't have to." Jessie pushed the bill back. "$6 is fine." "Jessie, accept it. I don't need handouts." The words came out sharper than she wanted. Owen put his wallet away slowly, unhurriedly. "It's not a handout, it's a tip. You're selling, I'm buying. That's how it works." Jessie crossed her arms. She didn't like the situation. She didn't like looking weak. But she also couldn't refuse $10 when she had to pay the rent at the end of the week. "All right," she murmured. "Thank you." Owen took the chocolates and put them in his coat pocket. Then he looked around, as if searching for something. "Do you sell here every day?" "Sometimes. Depends." "On what?" Jessie hesitated. She didn't owe him anything. She didn't need to explain her life, but something in his voice, the calmness perhaps, made her answer, "On how many clients I lose." Owen frowned. "Clients?" "I work as a cleaner, used to work." She adjusted a chocolate bar that was crooked in the box. "I lost 3 clients this week. So until I find others, I sell candy." "I see." Jessie waited for him to say something condescending. Something like, "It will get better," or "Have faith." But he didn't say anything. He just stood there, thinking. "Mommy is very good at cleaning houses," Junie said proudly. "She makes everything shine." Owen smiled. "I'm sure she does." Jessie felt her face heat up. She didn't want this conversation, not here, in front of her daughter, on the street, with the sun burning and the feeling of failure stuck to her skin. "Well, thank you for the candy," she said, hoping he would take the hint. But Owen didn't move. "Can I ask you a question?" Jessie sighed. "You can. Are you looking for work?" "Always. What if I offered you some?" Jessie blinked. She looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" "I need someone to clean my house. 3 times a week, maybe 4, depending." He took his hands out of his pockets. "Are you interested?" Jessie remained silent. She looked at Junie, who was paying attention to the conversation, then back at Owen. "Are you serious?" "Completely." "Why?" Owen tilted his head. "Why not?" "Because you don't know me. Because you don't know if I do a good job. Because this sounds like—" She paused, and searching for the right word. "Charity." "Again with this." Owen crossed his arms. "Jessie, I have a big house. I live alone. I don't have time to clean. You're a cleaner. You need clients. Where's the charity in that?" "In the fact that you saw me selling candy on the street and suddenly show up with a job offer." "I didn't show up. I live nearby. I pass by this street every day." Jessie didn't answer. She kept looking at him, suspicious. Owen sighed. "Look, I get it. You don't know me. You don't trust me. It makes sense." He shrugged. "But the offer is real. If you want, come by my house tomorrow. Take a look. See if it interests you. If not, no problem." "What if I go and don't like it?" "Then you leave." Jessie bit her lip. His logic made sense. But life had taught her that when something seemed too good to be true, it usually was. "Mommy, his house must be really big," Junie commented, excited. "Junie, quiet." "But it's true. If he needs someone to clean 3 times a week." Jessie shot her a warning look. Junie quieted down but kept smiling. Owen took a business card out of his pocket and placed it on the table. My address is on there, and my phone number too. If you want, call first, or just show up, whatever you prefer. Jessie looked at the card without picking it up. I don't know if... It's not charity, Owen repeated, firmer this time. It's trust. She looked up at him. There was something different about the way he spoke. It wasn't pity, it wasn't condescension. It was respect. Trust, she repeated. Yes. I trust that you do good work. You trust that I will pay you fairly. Simple as that. Jessie picked up the card. She read the address. It was in a good neighborhood. Large houses. Tree-lined streets. The kind of place where she used to work before everything fell apart. How much do you pay? How much do you charge? Jessie hesitated. She didn't want to ask for too much and scare him off, but she also couldn't accept less than she needed. $25 an hour. Done. She blinked. Just like that? Just like that. Owen adjusted his coat. So, tomorrow? Jessie looked at the card again. She thought about the electricity bill, the rent, the candy she still needed to sell. She thought about Junie, sitting there in the hot sun, swinging her legs and waiting for her mother to work magic to pay the bills. And she thought that maybe, just this once, she could accept help without feeling small. All right, she finally said. I'll stop by tomorrow. What time? 9 in the morning work. Perfect. Owen gave Junie another smile, then one to Jessie. He started to walk away, but stopped after a few steps. Oh, and Jessie. She looked at him. You can bring Junie if you need to, it's no problem. Jessie hadn't expected that. She felt something tighten in her chest. It wasn't gratitude exactly. It was something else, something harder to name. Thank you, she said quietly. Owen nodded and continued walking. Jessie stood still, watching him leave, with the card in her hand and a strange feeling in her stomach. Mommy, he's nice, Junie commented, licking her lollipop. He is. I think so. Junie swung her legs, thoughtful. Are you going to accept? I am. Jessie put the card in her pocket. I have to. She put the card in her pocket and looked at her daughter. Shall we go home? Let's. They folded the table, picked up the box of candy and started walking. Jessie could still feel the weight of the card in her pocket. And for the first time in a long time, she felt something she hadn't felt in months, hope. Jessie parked the car in front of number 247 and turned off the engine. The house was exactly as she had imagined, big, beautiful, and intimidating. 2 stories, an impeccable white facade, huge windows that gleamed in the morning sun. The garden was perfectly manicured, not a leaf out of place. Wow, Junie murmured from the back seat, her eyes wide. Is it a castle? It's not a castle, honey. It's just a big house. It looks like a castle. Jessie took a deep breath. She held her purse tighter and opened the door. Let's go. And remember, good behavior, okay? I'm always good, Junie replied, already jumping out of the car. They walked up the steps to the front door. Jessie rang the bell and waited. She could hear the sound echoing inside. After a few seconds, the door opened. Owen was wearing jeans and a simple grey shirt. He looked younger without the formal coat. He smiled when he saw Junie. Good morning. Good morning, Jessie replied. Are we on time? Punctual. I like that. He opened the door fully. Come in. Jessie walked in, holding Junie's hand. The entrance hall was enormous. Light marble floor. A wide staircase going up to the second floor. A high ceiling. Everything clean. Everything tidy. Everything empty. There were no pictures on the walls. No plants. Nothing that made it look like anyone actually lived there. It's nice, Jessie commented, out of politeness. Thank you. Owen closed the door. Let me show you around. He led them through the living room. Grey sofa, glass coffee table, bookshelf with a few books organized by size, no cushion out of place, no forgotten magazine, no dirty cup. Do you already have someone cleaning here? Jessie asked, looking around. No, why? Because it's very clean. Owen shrugged. I don't make a mess. Jessie didn't reply. She kept following him through the house. Modern kitchen, all white and stainless steel. Impeccable bathroom. Office with a large desk and a leather chair. In every room, the same feeling. Coldness, silence, as if the house were waiting for someone to arrive. "Mommy, look!" Junie pointed to a huge window that overlooked the backyard. "There are trees." "There are," Owen confirmed. "And a swing set, too. You can play there later if you want." Junie smiled, excited. Jessie thanked him mentally. "So," Owen returned to the kitchen, "normally I need general cleaning, dusting, vacuuming, bathrooms, kitchen, the basics. But if you think something needs more attention, just let me know." "All right." "The cleaning supplies are all right there." He pointed to a cabinet. "If you need anything else, just ask." Jessie opened the cabinet. It was full, organized. Everything new. "Perfect." Owen looked at his watch. "I'll be in the office, working. Call me if you need anything." "Okay." He was about to leave the kitchen when he stopped and looked at Junie. "Are you okay in here?" "I am," Junie replied, swinging her legs on the chair where she had sat down. "If you get bored, you can call me too." And then he left, leaving Jessie alone with her daughter and a giant house to clean. Jessie started with the kitchen. She cleaned the sink, wiped the countertops, organized the cabinets that were already organized. Junie sat still, drawing in a notebook Jessie had brought. For about 20 minutes, everything was quiet. Then Junie started singing. It was a school song, something about butterflies and flowers. Her voice echoed through the kitchen, breaking the heavy silence of the house. "Junie, quieter," Jessie asked. "Why?" "Because we're working." "But I'm not making noise, just singing." Jessie was about to answer when she heard footsteps. Owen appeared in the kitchen doorway. She felt her heart race, expecting a complaint. "I'm sorry," and she said quickly. "I told her to be quiet." Owen frowned. "Why?" Because we're bothering you." "You're not." He looked at Junie. "What song is that?" "From school," Junie answered proudly. "Do you want to hear it?" "I do." Junie sang again, louder this time, more excited. Owen leaned against the doorframe, listening. When she finished, he applauded. "Very good." Junie smiled from ear to ear. Jessie relaxed a little. "Sorry to interrupt," Owen said. "I just came to get water." He grabbed a glass, filled it from the tap, and went back to the office. Jessie continued cleaning, but now with a different feeling. Maybe Owen wasn't as rigid as his house suggested. An hour later, Jessie was vacuuming the living room when Junie appeared. Bored. "Mommy, can I explore?" "Explore what?" "The house." "No, Junie, stay here." "But there's nothing to do." "Draw some more." "I already drew everything." Jessie turned off the vacuum and sighed. "All right. But don't touch anything, hear me? And don't go into any room that has a closed door." "Okay." Junie ran off. Jessie went back to vacuuming, praying her daughter wouldn't break anything. In the office, Owen was hunched over his desk, looking at papers full of technical drawings. He could hear the sound of the vacuum cleaner coming from the living room. It was strange. Good, but strange. How long had it been since there was noise in that house? How long had it been since he heard a voice other than his own? He tried to refocus on the projects, but then he heard light footsteps in the hallway. He looked up and saw Junie standing in the office doorway, curious. "Hi," she said. "Hi. What are you doing?" Owen looked at the papers on the desk, then at the girl. "Working." "Working on what?" He hesitated. Usually, this question annoyed him. People always wanted to know, always had an opinion. But coming from Junie, it felt different. It felt genuine. "I'm an architect. I design houses and buildings." "Like drawings?" "Yes, like drawings." Junie walked up to the desk on her tiptoes, trying to see better. "Can I see?" Owen picked up one of the papers and lowered it, showing her, "Look, this one is a design for a library." Junie's eyes widened. "You drew a whole library?" "I did." "Wow." She touched the paper carefully, as if it was something precious. "You're very good," Owen smiled. It had been a long time since someone complimented his work so simply, so honestly. "Thank you." "Do you like to draw?" "I do. I always have." "Me too," Junie said, excited. I draw every day. Mommy says I even draw in my sleep. Owen laughed, a low, almost surprised sound. He couldn't remember the last time he had laughed. Really? Yes, I draw flowers and houses and Mommy and... Junie, Jessie's voice came from the hallway. Where are you? Here, Mommy, in the office. Jessie appeared in the doorway, out of breath. Junie, I told you not to bother him. She's not bothering me, Owen said, before Jessie could continue. Are you sure? I am. He looked at Junie. We were talking about drawings. Jessie relaxed a little. All right, but if she starts distracting you, I'll let you know. I promise. Jessie went back to work. Junie stayed there, looking at the papers with fascination. Do you have colored pencils? She asked. I do. Why? Can I draw too? Owen looked at the girl, her bright eyes so full of expectation. He stood up, went to a drawer, and took out a new notebook and a box of colored pencils. He placed both on the desk. You can draw whatever you want. Really? Really? He pulled a chair over for her. Dreaming is allowed in here. Junie climbed onto the chair, picked up a red pencil, and started drawing. Owen went back to his work, but every now and then he glanced sideways, seeing the simple lines taking shape on the paper. She drew quickly, without thinking much. First, she drew a house, then a girl with yellow hair, herself probably. Then another figure, taller, also with yellow hair. That's Mommy, Junie explained, without looking up from the paper. Say it's beautiful? Thank you. She continued drawing. She added flowers, a sun, clouds. Do you want to be in the drawing? Owen blinked. Me? Yes. You live here, so it makes sense. He didn't know what to answer. It had been so long since someone wanted to include him in anything. All right, he said quietly. Junie picked up a brown pencil and drew another figure, tall in a grey shirt. There, that's you. Owen looked at the drawing. It was simple, childlike, but there was something in it that touched him in a way he hadn't expected. Can I keep it? He asked. Of course. I'll make more if you want. I do. And then, for the first time in years, Owen felt something he had forgotten existed. Company. The feeling of not being alone in that huge, silent house. The rest of the morning passed quickly. Jessie cleaned the bathroom, dusted the living room, mopped the floor. Junie stayed in the office with Owen, drawing. Every now and then she would ask a question. Do you have a dog? Do you like pizza? Have you ever seen a whale? And Owen would answer patiently. When Jessie finished, it was already noon. She went to the office and found Junie sitting in the chair, surrounded by drawings, and Owen looking at each one as if they were works of art. All done, Jessie said. I finished. Owen looked up. Already? Yes, 3 hours as agreed. He looked at his watch, surprised. Time had flown by. Right. He took out his wallet. How much do I owe you? $75. Owen pulled out 4 $20 bills and held them out to her. Keep the change. Owen, Jessie, please take it. Please? She hesitated, then took the money and put it in her purse. Thank you. Thank you. He looked at Junie. And thank you for the drawings too. You're welcome. I'll make more next time. I'll look forward to it. Jessie took Junie's hand and started walking toward the door. Owen accompanied them. When they reached the entrance, he stopped. Ah, Jessie, she looked back. Yes. Can you come again on Wednesday? I can. Great. They left. Owen stood at the door, watching the car drive away. Then he went back inside. The house was clean. It smelled of cleaning products. But more than that, there were still traces of life. The drawings on the office desk. The sound of Junie's laughter echoing in his memory. He picked up one of the drawings. It was simple. The kitchen, the mother smiling, and him, sitting in a chair, reading. Owen took the drawing to the refrigerator and stuck it with a magnet. He looked at it for a moment, then he smiled. For the first time in a long time, that house didn't seem so empty. Jessie checked the clock on the kitchen wall. 12:15. Her stomach rumbled, reminding her that she had left the house without eating breakfast properly. Junie was in the office with Owen, probably peppering him with questions about the architectural drawings. She opened Owen's refrigerator, empty, except for a few bottles of water, a tub of butter, and eggs. No real food, nothing to indicate that anyone actually cooked there. Jessie closed the refrigerator and picked up her purse. Inside, she had 2 plastic containers, rice, seasoned chicken, and carrots that she had prepared at home very early that morning. It was meant to be lunch for her and Junie, but eating in front of her boss always felt strange. "Mommy," Junie appeared in the kitchen doorway. "I'm hungry." "I know, honey. Let's eat now." Jessie took the containers out of her purse and looked around. She couldn't just sit at Owen's table and eat as if she were at home, but she also wasn't going to make Junie eat in the car. "Junie, go ask Owen if we can use the microwave." "Okay," the girl ran off. Jessie sighed and started putting the food on plates. A few minutes later, Junie came back with Owen following her. "Of course you can use it," he said, entering the kitchen. "You don't need to ask permission." "Thank you. It's just to warm it up." Owen looked at the containers on the counter. Rice and chicken with a golden sauce, small cut carrots. Everything smelled good. "You brought lunch?" "I did. I always bring it. It's cheaper than buying food outside." He nodded, but kept looking at the food. Jessie heated the dishes in the microwave and served 2 plates, one for her, one for Junie. When she finished, Owen was still there, standing, as if he were waiting for something. "Do you need anything?" Jessie asked. "No, He hesitated. "It smells good." "Thank you." Jessie sat at the table with Junie. They started eating in silence. Owen remained there, unsure of what to do. Then, without thinking much, he asked, "What did you make?" "Chicken with garlic and lemon." "Nothing much." "It looks good." Jessie chewed slowly, noticing the tone in his voice. It wasn't just politeness, it was hunger, not for food, but for something more. "Have you had lunch yet?" she asked. "Not yet." "What are you going to eat?" Owen shrugged. "I'll order something. Delivery." Jessie looked at him. She looked at her plate. She had made enough food for 3 people, as she always did, an old habit from when she thought Junie's father would show up to eat with them. "Do you want some?" she offered, before she could stop herself. Owen blinked. "Seriously?" "Yes. I made too much anyway. And it's warm right now." He looked at the stove, where there was still food in the pot. Then he looked at Jessie. "Are you sure?" "I am. Sit down." Owen grabbed a plate from the cabinet and served himself a little of everything. He sat at the table, across from Jessie, and picked up the fork. He took the first bite. Jessie waited, a little tense. It wasn't fancy food. It wasn't anything elaborate. Just home-cooked food, the kind she made every day to survive. "It's good," Owen said, after swallowing. "It's very good," Junie smiled. "Mommy cooks well, right?" "She really does." Jessie felt her face heat up. She lowered her eyes to her plate. "It's just chicken." "No, it's more than that." She didn't know how to respond. She kept eating, trying to ignore the way Owen looked at the food, as if it were the first real meal he'd had in a long time. The 3 of them ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Junie, who could never stay quiet for long, started talking. "Mr. Owen, do you know how to cook?" "More or less." "Nothing very good." "Why not?" "Because I never learned properly." "But you live alone. Who cooks for you?" Owen gave a low chuckle. "No one. I order delivery most of the time." "Every day?" "Almost every day." Junie's eyes widened. "But isn't that sad?" "Junie," Jessie reprimanded. "Don't say that." "But it's true, Mommy. Eating alone is sad." Owen stopped chewing. He looked at the girl, then at his plate. Junie was right. It was sad. He just hadn't realized it until now, with the 3 of them sitting together, sharing a simple meal. "It is a little sad," he admitted, quietly. Jessie looked at him. There was something in Owen's expression that she recognized. Loneliness. The kind that hurts but you learn to ignore because you have no choice. "Do you have family?" she asked, and then regretted it. "Sorry, it's none of my business." No, it's fine. Owen pushed the rice around on his plate. I do. Parents, a sister. But we don't talk much. They live far away and He stopped. I kind of drifted away. Why? He shrugged. Work, relationships that didn't work out. Things pile up and before you know it, you're alone in a big house without knowing how you got there. Jessie nodded. She knew that feeling well. Different, but similar. I understand. Do you have family? Owen asked back. My parents died when I was 20. Car accident. She wiped her mouth with a napkin. And Junie's father, well, he hasn't been on the map for a long time. I'm sorry. It's okay. We manage. Junie took another piece of chicken. Mommy is strong. She takes care of everything. Owen looked at Jessie. She didn't look strong at that moment. She looked tired. But there was something in her eyes, determination perhaps, that showed Junie was right. I'm sure she is, he said. They went back to eating. The silence was different now, more comfortable. Junie told a story from school about a classmate who accidentally ate glue. Jessie laughed, and so did Owen. The kitchen, which had always been so cold and empty, felt different. It felt alive. When they finished, Jessie stood up to wash the dishes. Let me do it, Owen offered. You don't have to, you're paying me to clean. I'm not paying you to cook, and you cooked, so the least I can do is wash up. Jessie hesitated, then gave in. She sat down again, while Owen took the plates to the sink. Junie picked up the colored pencils she had left on the table and started drawing again. Owen washed the dishes slowly, listening to Jessie and Junie chat quietly. It was strange, good but strange. That house had always been his, always silent, controlled, predictable. But now, with the smell of food still in the air, with the sound of voices echoing, with Junie's drawings scattered around the house, it felt like a home. He dried his hands and turned around. Jessie was adjusting Junie's hair, who was complaining that her bangs were in her eyes. It was such a simple, intimate gesture that Owen felt something tighten in his chest. How long had it been since he had seen that? Care, affection, presence. Thank you, he said. Suddenly, Jessie looked up at him. For what? For the food. For sharing. She smiled, a small but genuine smile. You're welcome. Owen went back to the office, but before leaving the kitchen, he looked back one more time. Jessie was laughing at something Junie had said. The light from the window hit them, making their blonde hair look almost golden, and for the first time in years, Owen felt something he had forgotten existed. Warmth. Jessie was mopping the hallway when Owen appeared, hands in his pockets. With that expression she was starting to recognize, when he wanted to ask something, but wasn't sure if he should. Jessie. She stopped and looked at him. Yes. Can I ask you a question? Sure. Owen hesitated, running a hand through his hair. It's about Halloween. Tomorrow night, Jessie frowned. What about it? I was thinking. He took a deep breath. This neighborhood is good for trick-or-treating. The houses participate. They decorate, all that stuff. And I thought maybe Junie would like to come here. With the costume that she got. Jessie was silent. Owen continued quickly, as if he needed to finish before she refused. I can take her around. If you want to come too, great. Or if you have other plans, no problem. I just thought she'd like it. Owen, I know it sounds strange, but it's just trick-or-treating, nothing more. Jessie looked at him. It didn't sound strange. It sounded kind. And that, in a way, was worse, because kindness always came with a price, or at least that's what life had taught her. Let me think about it, she said. Of course, no pressure. He went back to the office. Jessie continued cleaning, but her mind was elsewhere. Junie would love it. Owen's neighborhood was the kind of place she saw on TV. Big houses, elaborate decorations, costumed children running through the streets. Jessie had never been able to give that to her daughter. When she finished cleaning, she went to the office. Junie was sitting on the floor, coloring, and Owen was at his desk working. Owen, he looked up. Yes, Junie can come tomorrow if the offer is still on the table. Owen smiled. It is. Of course it is. But I'm coming too. Perfect. Junie jumped up from the floor, excited. "We're going trick-or-treating here." "We are," Jessie confirmed. "For real? In Mr. Owen's neighborhood?" "For real," Junie screamed with joy and hugged her mother. Jessie laughed, despite the tightness in her chest. Sometimes the simplest things were the hardest to give. The next evening, Jessie parked the car in front of Owen's house. It was already getting dark. The streets were full of costumed children, accompanying parents, and lit lanterns. Houses decorated with pumpkins, fake spider webs, and orange lights. Junie was in the back seat, wearing the purple witch costume. The hat was a little crooked, but she didn't care. She held the broom with one hand and an empty bag with the other. "Mommy, look how many kids. I see them. Can I get out now? Wait for Mr. Owen." The front door opened and Owen appeared. He was dressed casually, jeans, a black t-shirt, a coat over it. No costume. He came down the steps and waved. Jessie got out of the car and opened the back door. Junie jumped out, almost tripping over her own costume. "Look," she spun around, showing the dress. "Does it look good?" "It looks perfect," Owen said, smiling. "You look like a real witch." "I am a real witch." Jessie adjusted the hat on her daughter's head. "I'll behave." "Okay. And always stay close to me or Owen." "Okay, Mommy." They started walking down the street. Junie was ahead, jumping with excitement, while Jessie and Owen walked behind. "Thank you for this," Jessie said quietly. "You don't need to thank me." "I do. You didn't have to." Owen looked at Junie, who was already walking up the steps to the first house. "I wanted to, really." The first house had a full setup. Skeletons in the garden, a smoke machine, a man dressed as a vampire at the door. Junie rang the doorbell, nervous. When the door opened, she shouted, "Trick or treat!" The man laughed and threw a handful of candies into her bag. Junie thanked him and ran back down. "I got some." "Mommy, look how much candy." "Very good, honey. Now let's go to the next one." They went from house to house. Junie became more and more excited. At one house, they got large chocolates. At another, pumpkin-shaped lollipops. At yet another, the owner gave them gum and a small plastic toy. "I've never gotten so much candy," Junie exclaimed, looking into the bag that was already almost full. Owen smiled. There was something magical about seeing her happiness. So pure, so simple. "How much do you usually get?" he asked. Junie was quiet for a second. "Last year we went to 5 houses. But it was raining, so we came home soon." Owen looked at Jessie, who looked away. He didn't say anything. He just nodded. "This year will be different," he said, and it was. They spent almost 2 hours walking through the neighborhood. Junie ran, laughed, showed her costume to everyone who wanted to see. Jessie tried to maintain her composure, but it was impossible not to smile seeing her daughter so happy. At one house, a group of children started playing tag in the garden. Junie looked at her mother, asking for permission. "You can go," Jessie said. Junie dropped her bag with Owen and ran off. Jessie and Owen stood on the sidewalk watching. "So she's having fun," Owen commented. "She is." Jessie crossed her arms. "Thank you again." "You already thanked me." "I know, but it's just—" She paused, searching for the right words. "It's hard for me, accepting help, accepting that someone does something nice for Junie without expecting anything in return." Owen looked at her. "I don't expect anything in return." "Why not?" he shrugged. "Because I don't need to. She's a good girl. You're a good mother. And I—" He stopped, looking at Junie playing. "I like having you two around." Jessie didn't answer. She didn't know what to say. Owen continued. "This house was always empty, and I didn't even notice. I thought everything was fine. But then you two showed up and—" He took a deep breath. "I don't know, it changed." "Changed how?" "Better." Jessie felt something tighten in her chest. It wasn't discomfort, it was something else, something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Junie ran back out of breath and smiling. "Mommy, can we go to more houses? How many do you want?" "All of them," Owen laughed. "Let's try." They continued. Junie's bag became so heavy that Owen offered to carry it. She accepted, happily, and kept skipping ahead. When they finally returned to Owen's house, it was already past 9 at night. Junie was tired but still excited. Jessie picked up the bag and put it in the car. "Thank you, Mr. Owen," Junie said, hugging his leg. "It was the best Halloween of my life." Owen bent down and adjusted the crooked hat on her head. "Mine too," Junie frowned. "But you didn't even trick or treat." "I didn't need to. Just seeing you have fun was enough." She smiled and got into the car. Jessie stood facing Owen, unsure of what to say. "Thank you," she repeated, for the third time. "Stop thanking me," Owen requested, but he was smiling. "I can't," he shrugged. "Then, all right, I accept." Jessie got into the car. Before turning on the engine, she rolled down the window. "Owen," he approached. "Yes?" "You're a good person." He didn't answer. He just smiled. A small, slightly surprised smile, as if no one had told him that in a long time. Jessie started the car and drove off. Owen stood on the sidewalk, watching them leave. The street was still full of children, parents, laughter, but everything seemed distant. He looked at the bag of candy Junie had forgotten. It was next to the door. He picked it up, went inside and put it in the kitchen. The house was quiet again, but it didn't seem as empty as before. Owen went to the office and looked at Junie's drawings on the wall. Then he sat in the chair and closed his eyes. That had been more than just a holiday night. It had been the beginning of something new. Jessie was putting away the cleaning supplies when Junie appeared in the kitchen, holding a new drawing. "Mommy, can I give this to Mr. Owen?" "Of course, honey, he'll like it." Junie ran off toward the office. Jessie stood still, looking out the window. She had been working there for 3 weeks, 3 weeks of routine, casual conversations, shared lunches. Owen had become more than a boss. He had become more what? Friend seemed too little, but it was the closest she could define. She picked up her phone and typed a message before thinking too much. "Do you want to have dinner at my place tonight? Nothing fancy, just home cooking." She sent it. Then she stared at the screen, waiting. Maybe he would think it was strange. Maybe he would refuse. The answer came in less than a minute. "I'd love to. What time?" Jessie smiled. 7 o'clock? I'll be there." She put her phone away and took a deep breath. She didn't know why she was nervous. It was just dinner, just food. But it felt like more than that. At 7 sharp, Owen parked in front of a small 3-story apartment building with faded paint. It wasn't ugly, just tired, as if it had seen better days. He picked up the bottle of wine he had brought and went up the stairs to the 2nd floor. He knocked on the door of apartment 204. Junie opened it, smiling from ear to ear. "You came?" "Of course I came." He stepped inside. "I brought this." He showed her the bottle. Junie looked confused. "What is it?" "Wine. For your mother." "Mommy, Mr. Owen brought wine." Jessie appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dishcloth. She was wearing jeans and a simple blouse, her hair in a ponytail. "How you didn't have to bring anything." "I know, but I wanted to." She took the bottle and looked at the label. "Thank you." Owen looked around. The apartment was small, living room and kitchen combined, an old but clean sofa, a table with 4 chairs, walls with some of Junie's drawings taped up. It smelled good. Garlic, onion, something baking in the oven. It wasn't big. It wasn't luxurious, but it had something his house never had. Life. "Sit down," Jessie gestured to the sofa. "It's almost ready." Owen sat down. Junie jumped beside him, holding a stack of drawings. "Do you want to see what I made today?" "I do." She showed him one by one. A house with flowers, a dog, a family, 3 people, holding hands. Owen looked at the last one more closely. "Who are they?" "Me, Mommy, and you." He blinked. "Me?" "Yes, you're our friend, right?" Owen looked at Jessie, who was in the kitchen pretending not to hear. She was stirring something in a pot, her back to them. "I am," he said quietly. "Definitely." Junie smiled and continued showing the drawings. Owen paid attention to each one, asking questions, complimenting the colors. For the first time, he realized how easy it was to be there, how he didn't need to pretend anything. "Done," Jessie announced. Let's eat. She put the food on the table. Roast chicken, rice, salad, bread. Nothing fancy, but everything made with care. The three of them sat down. Junie immediately started talking about school, about a classmate who brought a hamster to class, about the teacher who gave gold stars to those who did their homework. Owen listened, smiling. Jessie ate in silence, observing. There was something different about the way Owen looked at Junie. It wasn't pity, it wasn't forced patience, it was genuine. "The chicken is great," Owen said. "Thank you. It's my mother's recipe." "Did she cook well?" "Very well," Jessie smiled, nostalgic. She used to say that food made in a hurry doesn't feed the soul. She was right. They continued eating. The conversation flowed naturally. Junie told stories. Jessie laughed. Owen asked questions. It was simple, comfortable. After dinner, Jessie cleared the table and brought out a deck of cards. "Junie wants to teach you a game." "What game?" "Old Maid," Junie announced, excited. "It's easy, you'll see." Owen had never played, but he let Junie explain the rules, even when she got confused and changed the rules halfway through the game. They played 3 rounds. Junie won 2. Owen won 1. Jessie came in last in all of them. "You're terrible at this, Mommy," Junie commented, laughing. "I know. I always have been." Owen laughed too. He couldn't remember the last time he had laughed so much, the last time he had felt so light. After the cards, Junie showed more drawings. She had a whole folder stored under the coffee table. Owen looked at each one, impressed by the quantity. "Do you draw every day?" "Every day, sometimes even twice." "You're dedicated." "What is dedicated?" "It means you don't give up, that you keep doing it even when no one is asking you to." Junie thought for a moment. "Then I'm dedicated." "Yes, you are?" Jessie watched from the kitchen, washing the dishes. There was something strange about seeing Owen there, on the living room floor, surrounded by drawings, talking to Junie as if it were the most natural thing in the world. When Junie started to yawn, Jessie realized it was already past 9. "Time for bed, honey. But Mr. Owen is still here." "He'll still be here, but you need to sleep." Junie pouted, but obeyed. She said goodnight to Owen with a tight hug and went to her room. Jessie returned to the living room and sat on the sofa, next to Owen. They were silent for a moment. "Thank you for dinner," he said. "Thank you for coming." "I enjoyed it, truly." Jessie looked at him. "Really? Wasn't it, I don't know, boring?" "Boring?" Owen laughed. "So it was the opposite." She didn't answer. Owen looked around again. The drawings on the wall, the small table, the worn sofa. And then he said, more to himself than to her, "It's not the size of the house that matters. It's the warmth it holds." Jessie looked at him, surprised. "What?" "Your house." He gestured around. "It's small, but it has life. It has history. It has love." Jessie felt a lump in her throat. Thank you." "My house is huge," Owen continued. "But until you two showed up, it was just empty space. It had nothing, no meaning. And now it does. A little, at least." They were silent again. Jessie didn't know what to say. Owen didn't either. But they didn't need to say anything. Sometimes presence was enough. After a few minutes, Owen stood up. "I should go, it's late." "It is." Jessie walked him to the door. Owen stopped before leaving. "Jessie." "Yes." "Thank you for letting me be a part of this." He vaguely gestured. "This warmth." She smiled. "You're always welcome." Owen left. Jessie closed the door and leaned against it, taking a deep breath. She looked around the apartment. It was small. It was old. But it was hers. And for the first time, she realized that maybe it was enough. She didn't need more space. She didn't need new furniture. She just needed what she already had: love, presence, life. And now, perhaps, someone who understood that too. Jessie woke up in the middle of the night. The apartment was silent. Junie was asleep in the next room, breathing softly. But Jessie's heart was racing. She had dreamed of him again. Not Owen, Ryan, Junie's father. In the dream, he was at the apartment door, smiling, saying he was back. That this time it was for real. That he would never leave again. And she believed him, always believed him, until she woke up. Jessie sat up in bed and ran her hands over her face. It had been 3 years since she had last seen Ryan. 3 years since he said he wasn't ready to be a father and disappeared. No call, no text, nothing, and she had believed him. She had let him in. She had let him meet Junie, hold Junie, promise things to Junie, and then he left. Jessie looked at the clock. 4 in the morning. She wouldn't be able to fall asleep again. She got up, went to the kitchen, and made some tea. She sat at the table and looked at her phone. There was a message from Owen sent a few hours earlier. Junie forgot a drawing here. I'll keep it for next time. Good night. She didn't reply, she just kept looking at the message, feeling something tighten in her chest. Owen was kind. Owen was present. Owen liked Junie. And that was exactly why she needed to stop, because she had seen this movie before, and she knew how it ended. The similarities were subtle, but they were there. Ryan had also been kind at first. He had also made Junie laugh. He had also seemed different from everyone else. Jessie took a sip of the tea, but it was bitter. Or maybe it was just the taste of the memory. She remembered how Junie had cried when Ryan stopped showing up, how the girl would wait at the window, asking when Daddy would come back. How Jessie had to make up excuses until she had none left. She couldn't go through that again. She couldn't put Junie in that situation again, and she couldn't put herself in that situation again, because the truth was that it wasn't just Junie who was getting attached to Owen, it was her too, and that was the most dangerous thing of all. On Monday, Jessie arrived at Owen's house at the usual time. But something was different. She didn't hum when she walked in. She didn't joke when Junie asked if she could go to the office. She just nodded and started cleaning. Junie went to the office as always. Owen was at his desk working. "Good morning," the girl announced, excited. "Good morning, Junie." He smiled. "How are you?" "Good. I brought new drawings." "Great. Let me see." While Junie showed him the drawings, Owen paid attention, but his mind was elsewhere. Jessie had seemed strange, distant. After half an hour, he went to the kitchen. Jessie was cleaning the sink, her back to him. "Jessie," she turned around but didn't smile. "Yes? Is everything all right?" "It is. Why?" "I don't know. You seem quiet. Just tired." Owen nodded, but didn't believe her. He knew enough about Jessie to know when something was wrong. "All right. If you need anything, let me know." "Okay." He went back to the office. Jessie continued cleaning, but her hands were shaking. She could feel the weight of his gaze even after he left. She knew he had noticed. Owen always noticed. And that was why she needed to create distance. Fast. The following days were similar. Jessie arrived, cleaned, left. She avoided long conversations. She no longer ate lunch there. She said she had brought a snack and ate it in the car. Junie still went to the office, but Jessie no longer came to pick her up. She just texted to say she was waiting in the car. Owen tried to ask again, but Jessie always had an excuse. She was in a hurry. She had something to do. She had a headache. He didn't insist, but he felt it. The house that had begun to gain life was becoming silent again. Cold. On Wednesday, during lunch, which Owen ate alone, he realized it had been 3 days since he had seen Jessie sitting at that table, 3 days since he had heard her laughter echoing through the house. Junie still came, still drew, still talked, non-stop. But when he asked about her mother, the girl only said she was tired. "Does she work a lot?" Owen asked. "I think so." Junie was coloring a tree purple. "She stays up late sometimes. I hear her walking around the house." Owen didn't answer, but he kept thinking. Jessie was avoiding him. But why? Had he done something wrong? Had he crossed a line? On Thursday, Jessie arrived half an hour earlier and finished half an hour before the agreed time. "I'm done," she said, appearing in the office. Owen looked up, surprised. "Already?" "Yes, I cleaned everything. You can check if you want. I trust you, Jessie. You know that." She didn't answer. She just stood at the door, clutching her purse tightly, her knuckles turning white. "Junie, let's go," she called. "But I'm still drawing." "Let's go." "Now." The tone was firm. Junie obeyed, gathering her pencils and notebook. She said goodbye to Owen and left. But before leaving the room, she turned and asked, "Are we coming back tomorrow?" Jessie didn't answer. Owen saw the hesitation on her face. "We'll see," she finally said. And then they left. Owen was left alone in the office, confused. He looked at the drawings Junie had left on the desk. One of them showed the three of them together again, him, Jessie, and Junie, smiling. He picked up the drawing and put it in the drawer, along with all the others. He was starting to have a collection of moments that might be coming to an end. On Saturday, Jessie cancelled work. She texted saying Junie had the flu and couldn't come. Owen offered help. He asked if they needed anything, medicine, food, anything. Jessie only replied, "Thank you, but we're fine." He stared at the message for a long time. He wrote and deleted 3 different replies. Finally, he gave up and put his phone away. He spent the entire weekend in the silent house, trying to work but unable to concentrate. Every time he passed the kitchen, he remembered the smell of Jessie's cooking. Every time he passed the office, he saw Junie's drawings. The house was perfect, impeccable, but completely empty. The following Monday, Jessie returned, but her behavior remained the same, distant, mechanical. She came in, cleaned like a machine, and left. Owen waited until noon. He couldn't pretend everything was fine anymore. He needed to understand what was happening. He went to the living room, where Jessie was vacuuming. "Jessie, I need to talk to you." She turned off the vacuum and looked at him. There was something in her eyes. Tiredness, sadness, fear. "About what?" "About this." He vaguely gestured. "You, us? There's nothing to talk about." "There is. You're different. You're avoiding me, and I don't know why." Jessie crossed her arms in a defensive posture. "I'm not avoiding you. I'm just doing my job." "It's not just that, you know it's not." Owen took a step forward. "You don't eat lunch here anymore. You don't talk anymore, you barely look at me. What happened?" "Nothing happened." "Jessie, please." His voice came out softer, more vulnerable. "Did I do something wrong?" She closed her eyes, took a deep breath. She knew this conversation would come. She had tried to avoid it, but Owen wasn't the type to leave things unanswered. "No." "You didn't do anything wrong. Then why are you running away?" "Because I have to." "Why do you have to?" Jessie opened her eyes and looked at him. There was pain there, fear, everything she had tried to hide. "Because I crossed the line, Owen." He frowned. "What line?" "The line between boss and cleaner. Between professional and—" She paused, searching for the right word. "And personal. And that's bad." "It is. For me, it is." Owen took a step closer. "Why?" Jessie shook her head. The words were stuck in her throat, but she forced them out. "Because I've been through this before. I let someone in. I trusted. I opened up my life, my daughter's life. And you know what happened? He left. Without warning, without explanation. He just went." Her voice trembled at the end. Owen was quiet, listening, realizing she was talking about something deep, something that had hurt her in a way he didn't fully understand. "Junie's father?" he asked quietly. "Yes." Jessie quickly wiped her eyes, but the tears were already starting to fall. "He seemed nice. He seemed genuine. He said the right things, did the right things. Junie adored him. And I believed him. I believed he would stay, that we would be a family." "Jessie, but he didn't stay. When Junie turned 2, he just disappeared. Said he wasn't ready to be a father, that it was too much for him. And he left." The tears were falling freely now. Jessie didn't try to hide them anymore. "And you know what was worse? It wasn't him leaving. It was seeing Junie waiting at the window every day, asking when Daddy would come back. It was having to make up excuses until I had none left. It was watching my daughter stop asking because she realized he was never coming back. Owen felt something break inside him. He wanted to hug Jessie. He wanted to promise he would never do that. But he stood still, respecting her space. I can't go through that again, Owen. I can't let my daughter get attached to someone who can leave at any moment. I'm not leaving. You can't promise that. I can. You can't. Her voice came out louder, more desperate. No one can. He promised too. Everyone promises at the beginning, and then... She shook her head. Then they leave. Owen was silent for a moment. Then he said, his voice firm, Jessie, I'm not him. I know. She ran her hand over her face, trying to wipe away the tears that kept falling. I know you're not, but I can't risk it again. I can't. You're kind. You're present. You make Junie happy. You make me happy. And that is exactly why I need to stop. Stop before we even start. Yes. That doesn't make sense. It does. To me, it does. Jessie took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. Because when you get tired, when you realize all this is too complicated, when you realize that a single cleaner with a small daughter isn't worth the trouble, you'll leave. And Junie will ask about you, and I won't have an answer. Again, I won't get tired. You say that now. And I'll keep saying it. Owen took another step. He was close now. Jessie, look at me. She looked up, reluctantly. I know you're scared. I know someone hurt you, hurt Junie, and I understand why you don't want to risk it again. He paused. But I'm not that guy. I won't make promises I can't keep. I won't say everything will be perfect, but I can tell you one thing. I won't give up. Not on you, not on Junie. How can you be sure? Because I've spent the last few years alone, living in a huge house and without life and without meaning. Working, sleeping, waking up, repeating. And then you two showed up. His voice softened. You and Junie. And suddenly that house had life. It had laughter. It smelled like food. It had drawings on the walls. It had meaning. Jessie looked at him, her breathing ragged. Owen, I don't want to go back to that empty house. I don't want to go back to the silence. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you two. But what if it goes wrong? What if you change your mind? What if it goes right? What if I don't change my mind? Jessie shook her head. I can't, she whispered. Sorry, but I can't. Owen was quiet. He looked at her. He saw the pain, the fear, the determination. And he realized he couldn't change her decision. Not now. So what do you want? He asked, his voice low. Jessie swallowed hard. The words hurt as they came out. I think it's better to stop here. Stop? Yes, I'll finish this week, and then I'll look for another job. You can find someone else to clean. I don't want someone else. Owen, please, don't make it difficult. He was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. All right, if that's what you want, I respect it. Jessie nodded, but couldn't speak. Her throat was too tight. But I want you to know one thing, Owen continued. You didn't cross any line. At least, not alone. I crossed it too, and I don't regret it. Not one bit. Jessie looked at him, her eyes teary. Owen, you and Junie brought life to this house. You brought warmth. You brought laughter. And I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss you both, every day. A tear rolled down Jessie's face. I'll miss it too. Owen took a step forward, as if to hug her, but he stopped. He respected the distance. If you change your mind, I won't. All right. But if you do, you know where to find me. Jessie picked up her purse and called Junie, who was in the office. The girl appeared, holding her notebook. Are we leaving now? We are. But I haven't finished yet. You'll finish at home later. Junie looked at Owen, confused. Bye, Mr. Owen. Bye, Junie. He bent down. Keep drawing, okay? I will. And I'll bring more drawings. Owen looked at Jessie, who avoided his gaze. All right, he said. I'll be waiting. They left. Owen stood still, listening to the car drive away. Then he walked to the office. He sat down and looked at the drawings. He picked one up and put it in the drawer. The house was silent again, and this time, the silence hurt. Jessie drove without saying a word. Tears fell, but she wiped them away quickly. Junie was quiet in the back seat. When they arrived, Junie went to her room. Jessie stood in the living room, still. She sat on the sofa and buried her face in her hands. She had done the right thing. She had protected Junie. She had protected herself. But why did it hurt so much? She stayed there, crying, trying to convince her heart that she had made the right decision. But her heart didn't believe it, because she had seen the sincerity in Owen's eyes. She had heard the honesty in his voice, and she had thrown everything away out of fear. Jessie looked at the ceiling. She wouldn't be able to sleep. She would spend the night replaying everything, thinking about everything that could have been, but wouldn't be. Because fear was stronger than courage, and Jessie had learned to live with fear, even if it meant living alone, 5 days. It had been 5 days since Jessie left for the last time. 5 days of silence, 5 days of a house that had returned to what it had always been, empty. Owen was sitting in the office, looking at the computer screen without really seeing anything. He had a project to finish, a deadline approaching, but he couldn't concentrate. The house was impeccable. He had cleaned it himself, not because he needed to, but because he didn't know what to do with the time. With the emptiness, he vacuumed, cleaned the kitchen, dusted. But none of it made the house feel less cold. He looked at the clock. Noon. Normally, Jessie would be in the kitchen now. Junie would be in the office, drawing, asking questions, filling the rooms with life. But there was no one, just him. As always, Owen stood up and went to the kitchen. He opened the refrigerator. Empty, except for a few bottles of water and eggs. Delivery food again, as it always was. He closed the refrigerator and went back to the office. He sat in the chair and looked at the desk. The work papers were spread out. Technical drawings, blueprints, specifications, everything organized. But then he saw it. In the corner of the desk, somewhat hidden under an envelope, was a different sheet of paper, smaller. With colors, Owen pulled the paper out. It was a drawing by Junie. It must have been left there, forgotten, since the last time she came. Owen held the paper carefully, as if it were something fragile, precious. The drawing was simple, a girl with yellow hair, smiling. There were stars around her and a huge sun in the corner. Underneath, in crooked, childlike letters, it was written, "I happy." Owen stared at it. It was just a drawing, just paper and colored pencils, but there was something there, something pure, innocent, true. The girl in the drawing was happy, genuinely happy. And Owen realized that he too had been happy. In those weeks with Jessie and Junie there, he had been happier than he had been in years. He placed the drawing on the desk and kept looking. He thought about Junie, how she filled the house with questions, with songs, with laughter, how she drew without fear of making a mistake. He thought about Jessie, how she cooked with care, how she laughed when Junie did something silly, how strong she was even when she was tired. And he thought about himself, how he had lived all those years, alone, working, existing, but not living, until they showed up. Owen picked up the drawing again. He looked at the smiling girl. Simple, strong, innocent. And then he knew exactly what he needed to do. "Sarah can't live without them anymore." The phrase came out loud, echoing through the empty office. It wasn't a question, it was a certainty. He stood up, grabbed his car keys, carefully put the drawing in his coat pocket, and left. Jessie's address was on his phone. Owen had never been there, but he knew where it was. He drove fast. His heart was racing. He hadn't planned what he was going to say. He hadn't rehearsed. He just knew he had to talk, he had to try, because living without them wasn't living. It was just existing. 20 minutes later, Owen parked in front of Jessie's building. It was mid-afternoon. The sun was beating down hard. He climbed the stairs to the second floor. He stopped in front of door 204. Took a deep breath and knocked. He heard footsteps inside. Then the door opened. Jessie appeared. She was wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt, her hair carelessly tied up. She looked tired. She had dark circles under her eyes. When she saw Owen, her eyes widened. "Owen, what are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you." "Owen, we already talked." "I said that I know what you said, but I can't accept it." Jessie partially closed the door. "There's nothing to talk about." "There is. Please, Jessie, just give me 5 minutes." She hesitated, looked back at the apartment, then back at him. 5 minutes, she finally said. Jessie opened the door completely. Owen walked in. The apartment was the same as last time, small, modest, but full of life. Junie was sitting on the living room floor, drawing. When she saw Owen, her face lit up. "Mr. Owen!" She jumped up and ran to him, hugging his leg. Owen bent down and hugged the girl, feeling something tighten in his chest. "Hi, Junie. Did you come to visit me?" "I did. And I also came to talk to your mother." Jessie made a gesture. "Junie, go to your room for a bit, okay? But I want to stay with Mr. Owen. You'll stay with him later. Go now, please." Junie pouted, but obeyed. She picked up her pencils and notebook and went to her room, closing the door. Jessie crossed her arms and looked at Owen. "Well?" Owen took the drawing out of his pocket and showed it to her. "I found this today in my office." Jessie looked at the drawing. She recognized Junie's style. She forgot it. "I know." Owen looked at the paper, and when I saw it, I realized something. "What?" "That I don't want to live without this. Without this joy. Without this life." Jessie shook her head. "Owen, we already talked about this." "Wait, let me finish." He took a step forward. "In the last 5 days, I went back to living the way I lived before, alone, in silence. And you know what I realized? That's not life, it's just existence." Jessie looked at him, her arms still crossed. "You showed me what affection is. What presence is, what peace is." His voice softened. "You showed me what it's like to have someone to share a meal with, someone to talk to, someone to make the house feel like a home. Owen, and I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose you too." He took a deep breath. "Jessie, I know you're scared, but I am too. I'm afraid of spending the rest of my life alone. I'm afraid of never feeling what I felt with you again." Jessie felt a lump in her throat. "But I told you, I can't risk it. I can't put Junie in that situation again." "What if it's not a risk? What if it's a certainty?" "There's no such thing as certainty." "There is." Owen took another step. "I'm certain of one thing. I'm not leaving. I won't give up. I won't disappoint you." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I know what it's like to live without you. I've lived that way all my life. And now that I know what it's like to live with you, I don't want to go back." Jessie shook her head, tears starting to fall. "But what if it goes wrong? What if you realize I'm not enough? You are more than enough." His voice was firm. "Jessie, you are strong. You are dedicated. You are an incredible mother. You work until you're exhausted. You take care of Junie alone. And yet, you can still smile. You can still cook with love. You can still be kind." He stopped. "And Junie is pure joy, pure life. She sees the world with hope, with curiosity, without fear. Owen, you two showed me what I was missing." He held her hands. "And I don't want to waste anything else. I don't want to waste this, us." Jessie looked at him, crying. "But I'm so scared. I know and I understand, but let me prove to you that you can trust me." "How?" Owen took a deep breath. "This was it. I don't want you to come back as my cleaner." He stopped, looked deep into her eyes. "I want you to come back as my wife." The silence was absolute. Jessie froze, her eyes wide. "What? Marry me? Are you crazy? We barely know each other." "I know you well enough. I know you well enough to know that you are the most genuine person I have ever met. That Junie is the most incredible child in the world, and that I don't want to spend another day without you." Jessie shook her head, sobbing. "This is crazy." "Maybe. But it's the best kind of crazy I've ever had. Owen, I don't know if... I'm not asking you to be certain right now. I'm just asking you to try, to give us a chance. For us. He squeezed her hands. Jessie, I promise I will do everything to prove that you can trust me every day for the rest of my life if you let me. Jessie looked at him. She saw the sincerity. She saw the vulnerability. She saw a man offering everything. And then she heard a small voice behind her. Mommy. Jessie turned around. Junie was at the bedroom door, holding her notebook. She must have heard everything. Junie, I told you to stay in the room. I know, but I heard. The girl looked at Owen, then at her mother. Mr. Owen wants to marry you. Jessie didn't know what to say. Owen bent down, meeting Junie's height. I do, if your mother lets me. Why? Because I like you both very much, and I want to take care of you. Make you happy, if you let me. Junie thought for a moment. Then she smiled. I like you too, Mr. Owen. You're nice, and you like my drawings. Owen smiled. I'll always like them. Junie looked at her mother. Mommy, you should marry him. He makes you smile. Owen looked at Jessie. Do I make you smile? Jessie nodded, unable to speak. Owen stood up. Then let me keep doing it. Every day, for the rest of my life. Jessie looked at him, looked at Junie, who was smiling. And then she looked into her own heart. The fear was still there, but there was something else, something bigger. Hope, love, courage. Are you sure? She asked, her voice trembling. Absolutely. What if I disappoint you? You won't. Jessie took a deep breath, wiped her tears, and then let her heart speak. All right, she whispered. Owen blinked. All right. All right. I want you. I want us. Owen felt something explode in his chest. Joy, relief, love. Seriously? Seriously. Jessie took a step forward. But you have to promise you won't leave, that when things get difficult, you won't give up. I promise. He held her face. I promise I will never leave. And then he kissed her. A gentle kiss, full of promises, full of future. When they separated, Junie was next to them, jumping. Does that mean you're going to get married? Owen laughed and picked up the girl. It does. Are we going to live in the big house? You are, both of you, with me. I want to. Jessie joined the embrace. The three of them stood there, hugging. And for the first time in a long time, they all felt the same thing, completeness. Owen looked at the drawing in his pocket, the girl smiling. I happy. That drawing had changed everything, a simple piece of paper, with colors, with life. It had shown him what he was missing, and now he would never miss it again. Because he had found what he had always been looking for. A family. A home. Love. Chapter 12. A new beginning. 3 weeks later, Jessie woke up in a bed that wasn't hers, or rather, that now was. The morning light streamed in through the curtains. The room was large, much bigger than her room in the apartment. She turned her head and saw Owen still asleep beside her, breathing peacefully. She smiled. It still felt surreal. They got married in a simple ceremony, just the three of them. A justice of the peace and 2 witnesses Owen knew from work. Nothing elaborate, nothing over the top. Just honest promises and a true commitment. Jessie got up carefully so as not to wake Owen. She put on her robe and went to Junie's room. The girl was sleeping, hugging a teddy bear that Owen had given her as a gift. The room was full of drawings taped to the walls. Junie had insisted, and Owen not only allowed it, but helped tape up each one. Jessie quietly closed the door and went to the kitchen. The house had changed. It was still big, still beautiful, but it was no longer cold. It had life now. Pictures on the refrigerator, drawings scattered around, toys in the corner of the living room, small shoes by the entrance, a pink jacket hanging on the hook, signs that someone lived there, that a family lived there. Jessie started making coffee. The smell filled the kitchen. A few minutes later, she heard footsteps. Owen appeared, his hair messy, wearing pajama bottoms and a t-shirt. "Good morning," and he said, his voice still hoarse with sleep. "Good morning." He walked over and kissed her. A gentle morning kiss. Jessie smiled against his lips. "Did you sleep well?" Owen asked. "I did, and you?" "Better than I've slept in years." He grabbed a cup and poured coffee. He sat at the kitchen table, in the same spot where he used to eat alone, but he wasn't alone anymore. Jessie sat across from him with her own cup. They were silent for a moment. A comfortable silence, different from the silence that used to fill that house. "I'm thinking of working from home today," Owen commented. "That way I can have lunch with you." "You don't have to do that." "I know, but I want to." Jessie smiled. Owen had completely changed his routine. Before, he left early and came back late. Now he worked from home at least 3 times a week. He ate lunch with them. He stopped to play with Junie. He was present. "Junie will be happy," Jessie said. "I am too." A few minutes later, they heard running footsteps. Junie appeared in the kitchen, still in her pajamas, her blonde hair all messy. "Good morning." "Good morning, my love." Jessie opened her arms. Junie ran and jumped onto her lap. "Good morning, Junie," Owen said. "Good morning, my big friend." Jessie laughed. Junie had started calling Owen that a few weeks ago. He had offered other options. "You can call me Owen or stepdad or whatever you want," but Junie insisted on "my big friend," and Owen loved it. "What do you want for breakfast?" Jessie asked. "Pancakes." "Again." "Again," Owen laughed. "I'll help make them." The 3 of them went to the kitchen. Jessie prepared the batter while Owen heated the frying pan. Junie sat on the counter, swinging her legs and singing a school song. The kitchen was full of voices, of laughter, of life. When the pancakes were ready, they sat down to eat. Junie told a story about a classmate from school. Owen asked questions. Jessie laughed. It was simple, ordinary, but perfect. After breakfast, Owen went to the office to work. Jessie tidied up the kitchen. Junie took her pencils and started drawing at the living room table. In the middle of the morning, Jessie went to the office. Owen was focused on the computer screen. "Everything okay?" he asked, looking up at her. "Everything. I just came to see how you are." "I'm good." He smiled. "Better than good, actually." Jessie walked closer and kissed the top of his head. "Me too." In the afternoon, the 3 of them went to the backyard. Junie played on the swing while Jessie and Owen sat on the grass, watching. "Do you regret it?" Jessie asked, suddenly. Owen looked at her. "Regret what?" "All of this, getting married so quickly." "Changing your whole life." "No, not one bit." He held her hand. "And you?" Jessie looked at Junie, who was laughing on the swing. She looked at the house, which was now theirs. She looked at Owen, who was next to her. "No, I don't regret it." Owen squeezed her hand. "Good, because I don't want you to regret it. I want you to be happy. Every day." "I am." And it was true. For the first time in a long time, Jessie was genuinely happy, not because she had a big house, not because she no longer had to worry about money, but because she had found something she thought she had lost. Family, home, love. When the sun began to set, they went back inside. Jessie made dinner. Rice, chicken, vegetables. Simple food made with love. They ate together, talking, laughing. Afterward, Junie showed her new drawings. Owen complimented each one. Jessie cleared the table. At bedtime, the 3 of them went to Junie's room. Owen read a story. Jessie tucked her in. Junie yawned. "Good night, Mommy. Good night, my love. Good night, my big friend. Good night, Junie." They turned off the light and left. In the hallway, Owen hugged Jessie from behind. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For this. For everything. For giving us a chance." Jessie turned and looked at him. "Thank you. For insisting. For not giving up." "I'll never give up." She smiled. "I know." The 2 went to their room. They lay down. Owen turned off the light. In the dark, Jessie heard his breathing slow down. She felt his warmth beside her. and she realized she had found what she had always been looking for. It wasn't a perfect house. It wasn't a life without problems. It was something simpler, deeper. It was a family built with broken silence, with constant presence, with unhurried love, and it was more than enough. It was everything. If this story touched your heart,